Okay, welcome back to Heart and Soul Conversations here on our YouTube channel. And today I'm super excited. I am having a fantastic guest, Amy Taylor-Kabbaz, who is a facilitator, teacher, writer, author of a best-selling book about the topic of matrescence and mama's rising. Matrescence being the stage of growing into motherhood, like adolescence is growing up into an adult, matrescence is growing into motherhood. And Amy is a fantastic teacher in that regard. She has been a journalist in the past, worked for ABC for a long time, then become a coach and I think pre or postnatal yoga teacher as well. You've done so many things, and then you've wrapped it all up together into this fantastic concept that you are now teaching and already teaching facilitators so we can spread this whole movement into the world. I'm so thrilled to have you here, Amy. Tell us a little bit more about you first before we get into the juicy stuff.
You've summed it up beautifully. Thank you. As you said, I was a journalist for 15 years, and growing up, all I ever wanted to do was be a foreign correspondent. I was obsessed with telling stories that weren't being told. I wanted to go to the ends of the earth and be in the villages and pull out those stories and take them to the world. And if someone had said to me, you'll end up writing a blog about being a mother and then writing books and creating programs about motherhood, I would have thought that I'd given up on my dreams, to be totally honest.
Crazy.
But what I can see now is I am doing exactly what I wanted to do. I'm finding these stories within the village of our communities and our families around what happens to a woman when she becomes a mother that aren't being told or heard or understood. You know, I'm not frontline in Iraq like I thought I would be. I'm frontline in Sydney, but, but I'm frontline in motherhood. And that's because I had an incredible crash landing into motherhood. Welcome, sister. And crash landing is a good way to describe it, and many various complications. I had a beautiful pregnancy, but once my baby was here, we had many and various complications. But the turning point was that up until that time in my life, I knew who I was. I thought I did. I had a very strong masculine energy in the sense of I can figure this out. I'm incredibly independent. Show me what the problem is and I'll tell you what the solution is. I know who I am and I know where I'm going, and I'm going to be a foreign correspondent by the time I'm 30, and all of the things that I had planned out. And then along came this beautiful but challenging child. And as we walked through those first few months, I lost myself. I really didn't know who I was anymore. She's now 13. So 13 years ago, being the journalist that I was, I started looking around. Surely somebody's talking about what happens to you when you become a mother. Is it normal that I don't know who I am? I actually don't even know if I want to go back to being a journalist anymore. But at the same time, I do not want to stay home and do this the whole time. All of these big questions. And I looked around and no one was talking about it. Back then, I wasn't even on Facebook. We didn't even have strong social media 13 years ago. So I did what all good journalists do, and I started to try and find people to talk about it and ask questions. And then over the next decade, through many different paths and many different questions and no answers, I was eventually led to this word, matrescence, which I heard now nearly 4 years ago in a podcast just driving around in Sydney. And when I heard it come through on the car speaker, it was such a moment of recognition for something that I had been seeking for more than a decade. And still knew, even though I had already had a book published, I'd already had a very successful business, I was already talking about it. I knew that I didn't fully get it yet. I knew there was something missing here. What is it that there's something not understood about this? And then when I heard that matrescence is the transition between who you were and who you're becoming, and like adolescence, it's this period of time that it does not matter who you are or where you live in the world, you will need to go through adolescence to be able to arrive at adulthood.
Yeah.
Matrescence, once you become pregnant, matrescence happens even if you miscarry, even if you have a stillborn, even if any of that happens, there is a transition you will move through. You will never be who you used to be. Just like an adult can never be that child again. You take parts of it with you, but you've changed forever. And when I heard this, I realized, oh, this is what I've been looking for. And so since then, I've been like a dog with a bone. Just, this is the answer. Let's go.
Fantastic. And I can see how much relevance it holds. When I first met you, and that's not even that long ago, we were sitting on a panel together as speakers, and I heard you speak about this. Actually, I think it was when I heard you being introduced. That word just so strongly resonated. You know what I first thought it was that it is combination of mother and essence, matrescence. Oh. And only later, when you explained it on that same panel as like derived from adolescence, but with mother, I went like, oh yeah, that makes so much sense. But it actually both really encompasses what it is and what it comes to. And I had this strong feeling of, I wish something like that had been around when I had my son. My son is turning 17 in a few months, so long before you started on that journey and on that research. And just like you, I had this experience of, what is wrong with me? Like, why am I so uneasy? Why is it like I can't go back to what I was? I will never be the same. And I don't know who I am. I had just turned 25. So I think I was probably still in a finding process anyway. But at the time, as we all do, right? I thought I had it all figured out. When I look at 25-year-olds nowadays, I'm just thinking like, oh, you're such a little chicken. You're so cute. And then I'm like, shit, yeah. I had a child at your age, right? And I just wish somebody had come and taken me by the hand and more than anything validated and normalized what I was feeling. Like things, I'll put something out here and it's on video forever, might not be really positive for me, but remembering a moment when, like several times when my son was probably 3, 4, 5 months old, I was so overwhelmed with the intensity of it. And I had like a healthy kid. It wasn't no like extra challenges, just a child, right? And I had this urge, which I never followed through on, of throwing him out of the window and feeling awful about myself, shameful. And luckily I had this really strong circle of female friends with kids the same age. We all met at that time. And eventually I gathered the courage to speak about it. And I shared it with them, and they all sighed that sigh of relief and said like, yeah, I'm the same. I didn't think I could tell anyone. Just that point of normalizing that I'm not going crazy.
And that's what matrescence gives us.
I think so. And having someone like you and the work that you do to give us a framework of thinking about who we are growing into and how we can harness this as a period of growth for ourselves, rather than just trying to scramble, holding on to what was, that's kind of breaking off between our hands, and it's not true anymore, and not having language for what is happening. Describe to me where you are then catching women and what you are exactly supporting them with this work.
Well, what you've just described is pretty much what is in my inbox and my DMs every single day. It is women saying, I thought there was something wrong with me. I thought it was just me. That is my life's work, is to answer that, because that was me as well. And that's all of us. And what I see matrescence as, it's like my teacher, who is the modern godmother of matrescence. Matrescence was first, the term was first created in the 70s by a phenomenal woman called Dana Raphael. Anyone who's in the birthing industry knows Dana Raphael's name very well. She was the one who termed the coin and I guess the profession of doula. She in the 70s saw that there's no one in the room for birth, preparation, birth, and the 6 weeks afterwards that's there for the mother. Everyone else is there for the baby.
For the child.
Everyone is
So
obsessed
true.
with the baby.
Everyone
Who
also
is,
looks after the child and
that's
at the
right.
child, and nobody looks at you anymore.
So she recognized that we are not doing this right. We are not allowing a woman to move into motherhood supported, for her voice to be heard, for a place for her to be caught, or any of those things. So at the time, she came up with two ideas: doula and matrescence. Doula is the person who supports a woman through matrescence. And for some, who knows reason, perhaps we weren't expanded and ready enough, but doula slowly took off over the coming decades. Matrescence was lost in an academic journal in the 70s and was never really spoken about until my teacher at Columbia University, Dr. Orly Athen, kind of excavated it about 10 years ago and started to do more research on it, and that's where I've learned it from. And she says words create worlds.
So true.
And so if we don't have a word to describe what we're feeling as we're trying to figure out who we are now as a mother and why we fluctuate between loving this and wanting to throw it out the window, then we don't feel like we have a world that we fit into. We can't understand who we are. And as women, what we do in that process is we look around and see no one else seems to be struggling, so we silence it. And that's why we have all of these struggles of women behind closed doors. And what I see is that, yes, when we put matrescence out there, we create this new word, but from there we create a world. So we create a world where she can speak up, where she's not shamed for how she feels, where she can question, what type of mother do I want to be, and what support do I need? Do I want to work? Do I not want to work? Is it okay that I feel this way about my baby? Is it okay that I can't stand my husband now? Like all of the things that we go through.
Exclamation
That's
mark.
right. It's also a lot of the things in my DM. I promise you. I feel that through this understanding of this beautiful, simple world, we are actually creating this whole new world of understanding of mothers. Because the fact is, you beautifully said, I wish someone had come in and held my hand. And that's actually what we should be doing. This is a rite of passage of a life. You know, this is one of the key turning points of a woman's life. Just like when she gets her first period, just like when she enters menopause, we should be having these moments with elders and our community, and we should sit in circle and we should say to her, you're about to change forever. And there's going to be times that you hate it, but it's actually going to be the making of you. You will become more glorious, more spectacular, more divine, more strong than you have ever been because of matrescence. But trust me, it will be hard at times. There's nothing wrong with you.
And don't you wish someone had told you before? I can't believe, like, this is the kind of stuff, and the more I find out about what you are teaching and how you are teaching it, is this should be school curriculum, so that people are prepared, that this is something that you don't fall into and you are scrambling to realize as you are going through the motions when you are already sleep deprived and completely hormonal, and probably have yelled at your husband out of the hormonal often enough that he's kind of hiding from you rather than being there strong and supportive. So yeah, incredibly powerful work. And there's a reason why this is becoming a movement right now. I know that you're training lots of facilitators, much more than you had initially planned, right? And it's spreading so much faster than you thought it was initially. So now, let's become really practical here. If somebody is watching it, I trust the people who are hitting play on this video are probably at a stage where they are preparing for motherhood, in early motherhood. Some of them might be like me, who are looking back at it and just going like, oh, tell me what you have to offer here, because I want to tell my son, daughter, cousin, niece, nephew. What are things that you suggest for people who are entering this stage to support themselves into motherhood? Like, what are a few things people can take away practically from this video to ease into the journey?
I think it's really important to recognize that mothering and mother are two very separate things. You know, we spend a lot of time focusing on the act of mothering. What does my child need? How do I birth it? What do I feed it? How much sleep does it need to get? But even right through into us with our teenagers, you know, how much time on a device, you know, all of it. That's pretty much it. I was thinking, what else do we worry about?
Off it runs and I can never catch up anymore. Yeah.
That's it. It has to, wherever you are in motherhood, wherever you are in matrescence, you have to start carving out some time and awareness to ask, but what do I feel about being a mother? How has this changed me? How has my values changed? The biggest struggle we have is that we tell women that when they become a mother, they still need to be who they used to be everywhere else in their life. They're expected to walk back into work as if they've been on a 12-month holiday. Here, welcome back. Do you remember your login? There's your desk. See you at 12. Like for the meeting, that's it. We don't acknowledge she's changed. She's completely different. So in every area of your life, be very aware that your lens of what you look at is going to change. You will feel differently about the environment. You will feel differently about your body. You will feel differently about food, about money, about noise, all of it. It upgrades every single part of your life. So if you're in the very early stages of understanding this, and I have had women in my programs do my program, even though their children are leaving home as teenagers, because they never entered motherhood the right way and have never freed themselves from that question of what's wrong with me? Am I doing this wrong? So please know that if anyone is watching this and their children are at school and they're past the baby stages, it is not too late at all. There's incredible healing available when you allow yourself to go back and see, I just wasn't given the right information. It wasn't shown to me that this is about me birthing me as well. Yeah. So really just begin with kindness and give yourself space to ask, how has this changed me?
Absolutely. And this is brilliant. That so resonates for me. And I think an element of that, and I'm going off my own journey here, was I was so young. I had just kind of finished university. I was a couple of months pregnant when I finished university, had great grades, was ready to do a PhD. And then so that, but now I'm pregnant, I'm moving to another city to be with my partner. So that ship has sailed now. So I had this grief of getting over it. In hindsight, I'm glad I didn't do it, because I would have been like a political scientist. I know that you studied something similar. So it's like, thank God I don't have a PhD in that. I would have never ever needed that again. But back then I was grieving that. I was terrified of not getting a job. Berlin at the time was like everybody speaking a bunch of different languages, being great at what they do, lots of competition. And I was terrified I would never make it into the job market. And so why I'm saying this is I think it wasn't others who put the expectations on me. I think it was me who put those expectations there. I've also grown up in the east of Germany where all mothers were working. We didn't have mothers in the socialist societies that were just stay-at-home moms, or we did a few, but it wasn't the norm. So all my socializing had happened around women who were doing all the child minding and all the work, and then usually also running the whole household.
And this is what excites me about Mama Rising, the training that I teach to others to go out and teach this, is that I see this ripple effect being able to be created around matrescence here, that we get to redefine ourselves personally what this looks like. You know, just because you grew up thinking you'd go straight back to work, know that it can change. You can change your mind. You know, it can be different than what you thought, or you can do more that you wanted to do. It's like a fork in the road. But if we're not aware of it in those early years of motherhood, we go back to what we thought we should do. We keep, you know, almost unconsciously just following that path we thought we would follow. You know, I thought I'd be the foreign correspondent. I thought I would never leave the ABC. I was a lifer. I was going to be there forever. But through the questioning of motherhood and matrescence, I found actually that's not where I should be. And so if you're in any of those places, right now. And it's starting to feel like, I don't think this is what I want, even though it's what I thought I wanted. That's good. It means that you're starting to hear those whispers of matrescence, of change, and know that's exactly what it's meant to be doing. You're allowed to choose differently around motherhood and life now. That's the generation that we are.
And it sounds like it's not like a one size fits all, this is the right way of doing it. It's very much an encouragement in finding your own truth and then living from that truth authentically, right? It's like coaching
really
framework,
is.
obviously, which is fantastic. And so what is it that I need then in that moment? Like, what would be the right time, first of all, to enter those teachings? Is it when I fall pregnant, which I personally don't intend to do again, but just saying.
Careful what you wish for. Yes.
But yeah, no. But is it something that you should enter, say, in pregnancy? Is it something to look at once you have given birth, or what's the ideal time to come to work with you or with this?
The ideal time is whenever you can. Because it is such a new area of work, really. So we are still gathering evidence. I'm currently working with a university in Australia to look at the Mama Rising framework with pregnant women, and then track them and see how they feel afterwards, to see how much of a difference it can make as you enter into motherhood, to understand it.
Epic.
I know, it's
Congratulations.
huge.
That is
Thank
so cool.
you. So at the moment, this is a fairly new area of study. There's a woman who runs a motherhood center in New York. She said to me a few years ago when I was there, Amy, if this happened to a man, we would have universities dedicated to it. But because it happens to mothers, to women, and we need to keep showing up and we need to keep going back to work, and we haven't been speaking up, this is a very new area of understanding of what we need to make it better. We know postnatal depression rates are far too high. We know that anxiety is far too high. We know marriages breaking down. We know children, we know that it's not working. We know why, but the solution and the right timing, I think we do need it in schools. We need every GP.
That's why I was saying it. Like, I actually believe that, not just because it sounds nice to tell you this. I actually think that needs to go somewhere in the, I don't know if in Australia, I think it's called PDHPE sort of curriculum, where it's like about physical health and educating yourself around your physical and mental health, right?
Absolutely. I've got 2 facilitators in the Mama Rising training who have been in the education health area and want to take it to schools. We want it in workplaces. We want managers and HR managers to understand that when she returns to work, she's different. Don't treat her like she's just been on a holiday. Ask these questions, hear what she needs, how her needs have changed, that she probably doesn't want to do that bit anymore, but now she's really passionate about the environmental footprint of the company. Like, use her new gifts.
That's right, because it's not just losing the old power and being less available. It's like you do gain awareness, you gain passion, you gain clarity, you also gain skills, like just in multitasking. I know I've learned a lot about multitasking.
Absolutely. And focus, because you've got 20 minutes while that baby sleeps.
Boom,
and you can't mess around. But they've also, and I know I could go on about this forever, but they've also done so much study on that parts of the brain that is activated. The only way it's activated is through motherhood, and it never turns off again. And it's the part that is it's the me versus we part of the brain. And when a mother falls pregnant and gives birth, that totally switches on and it never closes off again. So she goes from thinking about herself to about the collective. That's what motherhood does.
Yeah, sounds like we should find some sort of electoral external stimulus to stimulate it in all the guys and kind of force switch them on as well. Wouldn't that make a difference in the world?
That's it. But instead of talking about baby brain,
lactating, that wouldn't be great. Sorry, I couldn't help myself here.
No, I love it. But instead of talking about baby brain and dismissing and hiding the fact that you're a mother at the workplace, or any of those undervaluing of this phenomenal role in our society and our culture, I hope we completely flip it on its head and instead see mothers as superpowers connected, compassionate, focused, driven, clear on what they do want and what they don't want for their children's future. You know, this is a gift which all comes if we understand what matrescence is.
Absolutely fantastic. So I guess my last question is, if someone who's watching this has a friend or is themselves in a situation, etc., specifically regarding postnatal depression, or someone who is struggling in the first few months or years after giving birth, other than sending them the link to this video and then making sure that they have a link to your website and start learning from you, what are things, how can we support young mothers in their journey? What are specific things we can do for them and or support ourselves?
Talk to her about this idea of matrescence. I found it incredibly inspiring to hear how much this also helps partners understand.
Yeah.
So if you feel that your partner is really not understanding why you're emotional or why you're struggling, send them a link to my podcast, get them to listen to one of the episodes where I talk about what matrescence is. It helps them understand, oh, I get it. She doesn't know who she is anymore.
Yeah. She is not just a bitch because she has changed.
That's it. Her identity has changed. She used to think she was this. She's not quite there that yet. She's in this in-between stage. The second thing is, do not allow your GP or health practitioner to dismiss the way you're feeling. Do not allow them to dismiss it. Keep searching. There are really beautiful alternative holistic health practitioners out there now that are aware that it's not either happy or postnatal depression. There's a beautiful spectrum in the middle there. Postnatal depression is a very real, issue that we need to look at. But in between that, this is just a woman figuring out who she is. So please keep looking. Don't let your thoughts and your concerns be dismissed and think there's something wrong with you. There's not. And keep searching for those people to talk to. And we're in the process of building a Mama Rising website where you can go on and you can search for Mama Rising trained facilitators in your area or online, and you can reach out and talk to one of those coaches as well.
Yeah, that's brilliant. And if you have been watching this and you are interested and you are as intrigued about the topic as I have been and still am, increasingly so, we will leave links to Amy's website, to Amy's blog as well. That's fantastic. You have so many interesting episodes there, and to her social media underneath this video. So make sure that you look for the details there, and then you can find out more and either sign up for a course or start reading the blogs or whatever is meaningful to you. Thank you so much, Amy, for making the time. I know you're really busy, particularly right now with a bunch of kids, with the growing business, with facilitating and expanding the course. And I really, really appreciate this. Guys, if you've loved this, follow our channel. If you are liking this episode, we are coming out with more soon. We're doing more interviews with Amy as well. Hit the bell button if you would like to be notified about the information when it comes out. And as always, if you enjoyed this episode and you have comments, either sharing your own experience or you have questions for Amy or myself, make sure that you leave a comment in the comment section and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. Thank you, Amy, for being here with us. And I hope we'll see you again soon.
For sure. Thank you so much.
Thank you.